Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And we got Midheaven on Aldebaran, which I could not miss. So first of all, a little bit of calling to Aldebaran, which is rising now, and I refer you to Lada Duncheva's series of videos, so you can pick your ascendant, sun, or moon. And she also has a very good tip about chart remediation, to which this video is complementary. So I will not spoil you. I do not get dividends for this reference, but you can tell her that you came from my channel. And so I have a little bit of a second house, okay, financial, but also self-value, complementary tip regarding how to tend to your income, but the type of income, not that you get from others or like grants, although if it's associated with eighth house, it can be, but what the type of income that you are making before you invest. Okay, so how do you make the money? When you have no money, you have to sell your skill, your service, and then make the money. And so this my tip come from outer planets and inner planets connection. So this is just continuation of the episode I did with water expands upon cooling, but this time not around cold cases or anybody getting murdered or prevention of assassination, but rather talking about when should you tend to your income or your issues with money or your issues with making an income on a personal basis. Okay, it's like, oh, what my planets are, where is the ruler, what can I make money from? And a lot of astrologers that will tell you that. I think Maren Altman had a video a while ago that tended to income. If I'm not mistaken, also Heather Eland before her medical era also tended to that. And one great financial astrologer is Victor from astrovictor.com. So you can refer to those for these kind of personal tips. But my uniqueness is that I have outer planet signature, and you see that applies to my readings. And this is if you have connections to outer planets from your second house. What is outer planets? You would see Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and I would add Sedna and Aries. Right now, Aries is in Aries, my second house. So being inclusive is very important. Then that means that when you are tending to your income, your own skill, just trying to make a business, okay? And even if you are not self-employed, you're still a business, okay? You still have to promote yourself, you have to market yourself, whether it's with seeking work, changing works, having various forms of income. And I remember Lada had a video about that a while ago, about what type of second house you have. But what is important is that you're going to tend to it personally. Okay, personal planets, where we go all the planets up until Saturn and to a little extent Jupiter, you are tending to very much scratching your own itch. But it's a very personal. Okay, it's a let's say you have Mercury like me, so you think about journalism, or you think about being a person of the world, or even astrology or tarot can be appropriate. When you have, let's say, Mars, then it's perhaps something to do with real estate, and so on and so forth. You look at what planets in the second house. They're sometimes just that simple. What planet is in the second house? And then if you don't have planet, then you look at the ruler and you look at the house of the ruler. Okay, for example, for me, ruler of second house, in the ninth, I'm good with making money by teaching. And indeed, for the most money I made is because I was teaching something. Just, yes, or working with international organization that, international business that sells workshops. Okay, so this is basically how I made my money. And Aries, as would mean self-employed, more often than not, unless you're like a founder of something or CEO of something. And so this is for the personal planets. But when you have outer planets, it means that, first of all, depending on the aspects, you are tending to a trend. So you could be first of all, you could be a trendsetter. Take a look at the Jupiter-Uranus. Okay, if you think about who was it, Steve Jobs, that had this Jupiter-Uranus. It's going to mean, for example, you are inventing some new technology and you're changing the habitual processes of people. Think about social media. Okay, so people that benefited from social media changed our habits. People that benefited from cellular phones changed our habits, and by that they created a movement, basically a social movement that became their income, okay, their product. And so this not necessarily means community unless you have relation to the 11th house. Okay, if people say, oh, you have to start a community, you have to this, well, not everybody. We are different people and we have different marketing strategies. And if you align yourself with the herd, it's going to be as good as trying to take the medication that everybody takes and expect the results. Okay, so many people died that way. And this is important. Um, so outer planets means that you're tending to a bigger trend. But it also means there is a calling in the way that you make business, in the way that you are making your income. Okay, there's a deeper calling, and you have to understand what that outer planet is, where it is, what it wants from you. Okay, what it is there. For example, Neptune second house, do you need to surrender something? Okay, so if you, for example, long to have self-value, if you don't value yourself, you place that petition to Neptune. Okay, you feel the longing, and you manifest through this self-value in miraculous ways. You could also manifest miraculous income. You have to tend to your longings and process your grief with Neptune. And then there's miraculously, yes, and when you allow yourself to tend to that, then you get less disiluded by this Neptune. Okay, so for me, I have Mercury applying to trine Neptune, so it's more easy for me. If it is opposition or a hard aspect, would be through crisis that I would reach that, rather than, oh, I have this longing, oh, I see that I have grief there. I'm going to be in the longing, be in the grief, and ask for what is it that I'm longing for, so will manifest. And so Pluto requires you to transform something from the core. Okay, if you've seen my channel and you see, why do I talk about all this, the darkest of things, politics and children, expandable children? Mercury's children is in my second house. Okay, Mercury is also trade and also fraud. Okay, trickery. So granted that I'm not going to trade children and be a fraudster, okay, and an international criminal, top criminal, then which I don't have intention to do. So, and I desire not to do that. So what I have to do with Pluto is to tend to issues of expandable children and to these frauds, because this is an energy block, Pluto, that if I don't tend to it, it blocks my income. It blocks my income. And I don't understand why. Okay? I don't understand why. Why my business not working? Why other people get easy clientele, but me is begins and then stops. It begins and then stops. What's going on? What is Pluto? In the ninth house, I have to tend to this issue, and also for my income to be steady, I have to tend to this to abolish expandable children. Praxis, it can be scary, but I'm built for that. My chart is built for that, so that for it comes from my taxation, or it comes from my having international business. I'm ruler of the second in the ninth means that the business is international. And I have a lot to say about this. I will talk to you more about this. If not, remind me in the comments. Um, and this is because, yes, it forces you to go big, okay? But if I tend to that, I can make money also local. But if I don't tend to that, I don't make money. It's from what I bring from abroad or from higher learning or from deeper philosophy that brings, and my own growth that brings, well, these are the teachings, right? That then I can make money also locally because Mercury rules also Gemini, which is local income. And so, um, uh, what is important when you have this outer planet connection, I have a hard aspect with Pluto. Okay, this is why I'm intending to expandable children, and not for other people. They could be doing, I don't know, some charity, and that would be suffice. Okay, no, I'm fighting for these children. They might get into troubles. Okay, there's steering up certain things, but again, my Mars that rules the second house also rules this Pluto. And in the 22nd degree retrograde, it means I'm not going to initiate anything lethal, but I'm equipped with responding. So that is why I have this calling. But it's also when I agree to tend to this, right now at my Pluto square, by the way, then the informations for the strategies and the understandings come to me. Okay, but you might not have a chart you have like this, but it does mean that to make your money, for to grow your business, you need to tend to something that's generational, intergenerational, and depending on the house can also be international. Okay, but this Pluto also opposes Venus that rules my 8th house, which is banking. But you see, the minute I tend to that, and by the way, I have a midpoint between that Mercury and my IC in Juno on Algol, right on Algol. Okay, so when I give Algol reverence, then I get to unblock these blocks to my wealth and well-being. I tend to things that maybe are the harshest things that people tend to. I also get protection, I get the informations, and I unblock little by little my own wealth blockages through this. Okay, so yes, you must be ethical along the way, and you learn the things that what you think is ethical, and what the depth of of what is ethical eventually. You pick the bigger fight. Wow, it is transformation to the worldview in a way that for me I'm still processing. Okay, I think you see that with me when you listen to my videos. But again, it doesn't have to be anything harsh. I could, for example, I could have this Pluto sextile or trining that Mercury in that connection with the second house, and it would be completely different thing. Okay, maybe I would have a solution for a problem that is generational. Okay, maybe there's even problem with the trash, and then I would have, Pluto is compost and it is recycling, so I could do business with recycling. Um, and so Pluto would receive kind of a different meaning, okay, or sexual taboos. Yes, I could do, let's say, I don't know, with Mercury, it's also technology, sex toys. I could do such business, and I don't know, sex toys for people with disability. That depends on what is something a social taboo, and could make big money. Okay, so the outer planet is going to tell you what problems. First of all, it means that your wealth is bigger, but it might mean that you might build it later in life, because it's only in your 40s that you have your Pluto square. Okay, for thanks Lada Duncheva for her teachings. And so this is also important. Outer planets might mean that's only in your 40s you process your Pluto square, you grow into your Pluto, but then you grow into your Neptune, and then you grow your wealth. If it's Saturn, look for Saturn return. I made my first have Saturn in the 9th house. The only time I could complete, I had the money, Saturn, to complete degree was after 28, and that would directly lead to my Saturn maturation, because I would tend to what now is WHO, but I didn't know that. Okay, I was just tending to my mental health and my physical health and philosophy of medicine. In the politics department, mind you, Pluto in the ninth house. For the department, what they said, that their definition of politics is the distribution of power in a situation of limited Saturn resources. So, yes, and for the reason that I chose this topic is because I wasn't traveling, and I said it's the closest to travel, maybe study international relations, or maybe 1 or 2 courses of international relations, but that is also another ninth house signification for you. And I focused on, of course, philosophy of science and philosophy of politics, which is yet another ninth house signification. So that is, in essence, the tip. Now, if you want a reading for me as to what venues or what problems could you be solving, first of all, I want you to understand that if you have like business idea, then don't come to me for reading before you protect yourself legally. Okay, you might need to patent this idea. And for the conversation of what we come up with, I might desire to be paid in equity, because I've been discussing with you for what the idea. Okay, so it's a different type of astrological reading. If you have desire to have a business idea, and you have outer planets involved with your second house, you have an okay synastry for that, then I could be sitting with your consultation to look at your chart and thinking together of what are the options, and what are the things that need to be, and also be very honest with you for what are the challenges. There's a person that tells to abolishing expandable children praxis, and the both within the children that are tortured to become people, business people, and for the people that used to extort them, okay, for the entertainment industry. And my Mercury is also ruling over my Rahu in Gemini, which is the Gemini Sag is in the entertainment industry, and the 2030 axis for eclipses. So, as you understand who you're speaking with, right? So of course, I would be very honest with what I see. Doesn't mean that I see everything. But please, if you have already idea and you're like, is this good idea? Please protect it first. Not because of me, I'm not going to steal your idea, but I think it's fair to tell you that you are legally protected. And also, you understand the people like me that live also in Israel and have Dutch. We don't have a private conversation, right? Because I cannot. I can. There's no private conversations in here, so I want you to be legally protected and to understand that that is of what it entails, and this is definitely something that I can give you. Of course, if you have Chiron, which right now is going to my second house, and this Mercury is ruling over my natal Chiron, then that can mean that there is another thing you have to tend to, or to literally heal. And you see for around the houses what it is. I am 40, so I did not go through my Chiron return. I'm not 50 yet. And so what the information I can give you about Chiron is within this reach. Okay, I'm going through my Pluto square now, within my Pluto square. For Chiron, I'm not 50 yet, and so I will not have the knowledge of a person that went through the Chiron. Okay, the Chiron, but with Chiron is even so is something that you comprise. So if it's a Chiron issue, would always however I would desire to help you, to be like Swiss cheese, that you have to complete for yourself something relevant, something not at all. With Chiron, it's even stronger. So right now, it's very likely that you have Chiron, because it's going through Aries, and the Rahu is in Aries, ruled by Mars. And right now we began with the Aldebaran, which is very Mars associated, Aldebaran midheaven. And thanks to Adon Cheva for the explanation associated with Archangel Michael, which is the self-assertion war, like, take the bigger fight and win it, but in favor of humanity. Okay, if you believe in Christ consciousness, then that. But it's also given of material. What I understand for Aldebaran is given of material success, because if without a repercussion, okay, it's not a Pyrrhus win, but let's say what I have it in the fourth house when I talk about housing first as way to deal with mental crisis, and the importance of housing independent of ability to work, but such that the people have sovereignty and autonomy. Okay, not you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, if you have sovereignty, you have autonomy, and you have, okay, your land, your connection to nature, okay, not from greed, but because this is root chakra that opens the crown and allows you to have the channelings and the psychic experience, which is supportive of you rather than intrusive, of what people have when they're cut off from the root chakra by sexual abuse or by being taken from their land and so on. I know you think, but this is ridiculous, you're talking from Israel. No, it's not. This is exactly what's meant to be. And it's true for everyone, regardless of what their gender, what their culture, what their nationality. If you understand my political views from that, right? And so that is careful to add. Aldebaran can do. The material success has to be with Christ consciousness, but it's also when you are chasing for the material success, pay attention that you open yourself up, that you really enjoy for the material success. So your crown chakra opens, and then you really appreciate wealth and enjoy wealth without having this excessive drive for the material, with neglecting, okay, for the spiritual. But this is also natural process. It's natural process for people when they begin to have things. I'm going through my Pluto square right now. Okay, if you begin to have things, you write, I don't know, make a comment on this biggest business person of the world, and then you see like they change their post according to what you said. Okay, but you begin to have things, it changes your psyche. It changes your psyche, and your material appraisal becomes more holistic. But you're also thinking not just about yourself naturally, but it's those things that we're told for the cliches that, that the big money is because you give into society, even from the most atrocious, that what people do, tax evasion or this or that, they still had to do that. Nature tends to correct for themselves, for itself, but it would be better to do that without expendable children, human trafficking, organ trade, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of like what I'm tending to. Yes, I think this is my tip for today. I have Rahu, that whose ruler is in the second house. So this means that the teachings I'm giving you is of a person who is growing into growing their second house. So I'm growing with you. I am in my 40s, so I'm approaching to my Rahu maturation. So I'm receiving informations that are both to do with yes, my past life, which is Ketu, and this is alongside the axis of 2030. So I'm going to become extremely relevant because 2030 is my Rahu, my nodal reversal. Okay. And you might want to look at my reading for Donald Trump, to also have this axis with the same direction, but we have opposite Uranus, so it's very interesting. And so what I have to say about this, it means that of course I don't have all the information, so I'm not like a wealthy person giving you how I made this, but I am in the making and tending to the changing world, sharing with you my thoughts with the assistance of the astrology. And that is the scope from which, okay, I'm not your financial advisor, but basically growing with you, which is basically how our wealth is done if you want to do it ethically. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.